Oh, hi. My name is Marina, and I guess welcome to my channel. I'm still making the videos of the books I read in 2023, like a year ago, even though now it's 2024, but I want to talk about some of those books, and I wish I started making videos earlier, like right after I read them, but for some reason I didn't have like the energy and time to do any of the videos, and now I guess I have it. Hi once again, my name is Marina and I am from Russia and I live in Russia, and I mostly read in Russian, so you'll be able to see like Russian covers and their Russian names. So if you don't speak Russian you won't be able to read, but I'm gonna put English names as well, so you'll be, and I'm gonna speak in English because I wanna improve my English, and why not? Let's talk about some books I read in November of 2023. There are, I guess, all of them are thrillers. And the first book I'm gonna start with is, yes, let's go with the one I already showed. I, it's called like Carnival of Death, but I didn't see any English translations. I didn't see any translations to English. It's written by Brazil author. Uh, he's got the Perfect Days book translated to English, but I didn't read it in Russian, and I didn't actually find a translation to Russian. But this book, I guess, it's got this cover, so I'm gonna put it here, and maybe it's already translated to English. I don't know. I didn't check it, but like a few months ago, I didn't find any information. But it's called Carnival of Death in Russian. I don't know how it's called in what what they speak in Brazil. Portuguese, I guess. Um, okay, the story is about a girl who witnessed her whole family being murdered when she was a little kid, like 3 or 4 years old. Yeah, 4 years old, and someone came to her house and slaughtered her whole family, which is a traumatizing event and it affected her life. She's a sole survivor. Someone was arrested for that murder, but she still got traumatized, and of course your family is killed in front of your eyes, and in front of your eyes, that's pretty traumatizing and terrifying. And so she grows up into a pretty like into a woman who lives like a private life. She doesn't have any relationships, friendships, and she works at a cafe as a waitress. Yeah, and she makes a few friendships along the way, and later someone starts kind of threatening her, leaving some messages at her home, which scares her, and she's afraid that the killer of the family got released and is coming after her to finish his business. I don't remember why she was left alive uh, in the past. So it sounds interesting, and it's called Carnival of Death, and I had high hopes for this book, but actually I didn't really like it. Well, it was fine at first, till the end. The author could have make it or made it. Anyway, way more bloodier, cruel, and terrifying, but it was messy, um, weird, and I didn't understand a few characters, what they what the actions meant. They explained something, but not all of it. There were just what was their purpose. Um, okay, it's kind of hard to explain, not giving any spoilers. And I actually read it like almost a year ago. I barely remember the details, except the fact that I didn't like the ending. In my opinion, it was bad. It could have been better, way more better. And if the ending, if it's not for the ending, it's a pretty fine book. You can, but that's the book you can like pass the time with, not expecting anything super thrilling. Um, Maybe I would give it like 3 stars. Not bad, not very good, just an okay book. I just expected like a carnival of death, blood, horror, terror, and but it wasn't like this. The book I'm gonna talk about is The One by John Mars. I don't have a physical copy right now because I gave it to a friend to read and she didn't return it to me yet. And I gave this book like 4.5 stars, maybe. Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. So I guess everyone heard about this book. It's about a world where you can find your perfect match by DNA. Something in the people's DNA was discovered that it like attracts to other person's DNA, so and creates a perfect match. So something chemical on physical chemical level, I don't know, on the level of our cells, that something perfect attracts people and creates perfect couples that they will love each other forever. The story is told from 5 people who found their match by DNA, and those stories are interesting because you can know what your match is gonna be like. It can be anyone in the world. Like maybe your perfect match is a serial killer. Maybe you are a serial killer, and your match is a police officer. I think I enjoyed every story, and I really loved this book. I enjoyed the whole book. I read it in like one sitting. Started reading. I started reading it at like maybe 7 p.m. and I finished it by like 2 p.m. I enjoyed it a lot. It was fast paced. It was easy to go from one perspective to another. Sometimes left by a cliffhanger in one story, then jump into another story. Like it's fast paced, it's interesting, and it grabs your attention. You want to keep reading to see where it all goes. It's good. It's good. I love it. The books that's called I'm thinking of ending things. I guess you've seen this cover many times, and you've seen lots of booktubers talking about that book, and it's a good one. This is the story about a couple, Jake and what's her name? Do they even tell her name? It's about Jake and his girlfriend. They are driving to his parents' house for a dinner, and they're talking a lot on the way there, then at the house, then on the way back. And there are lots of really weird conversations, and the girl wants to end things. But which things? It's unclear till the end of the book. It's a pretty weird book. It's kind of trippy. Especially if you watch a movie. I watched the movie first. I didn't understand anything, but I liked it a lot because it was beautiful in my opinion, and I like the characters. But for some reason, I didn't understand the ending, and it's way more clear in the book. It's pretty atmospheric. They ride to the house. I guess it's through the kind of blizzard, snow. So when they arrive at the house, there's some weird things, some pictures of her, of him, and which she didn't expect to see it there because those pictures are from her childhood, and everything becomes weird and creepy, and she doesn't understand anything, and she's more talking about ending things. But what things? I enjoyed reading this book. It was quite a ride, and maybe it's like 4 stars for me. I Yeah, I recommend this book. It's a good one. I wouldn't say it's like scary or it's like a thriller. You just with the main character, you and the main character don't understand what's happening, and it's just a pretty confusing book. But it gets not so confused at the end. It's like an interesting take on that situation that happens at the end. So I recommend the book and the movie. I liked it both. I enjoyed both of them. So, what if you're choosing to read or to watch a movie? You can do anything you like, but I just really don't remember that it's clear in the movie what really happened in the end. If it's not, read a book. So, but better read a book and watch a movie. Yeah, 4 stars. Okay, let's talk about the classic, John Fowles' The Collector. I guess lots of people are familiar with this book, but this is a story about what's his name? Well, a man who likes to collect dead butterflies, or he kills them and then collects them. At one point, he wins a lottery and he don't have to go to work anymore, and he can do whatever he wants from that point. So he decides to add to his collection a woman he's got a crush on. So he kidnaps a woman and locks her at his basement, at his new house, which is pretty isolated, so no one will be able to hear if she decides to scream or anything. So his kind of sick mind decides to kidnap this girl to get her to fall in love with him because he's got a crush on her, he loves her without even knowing her, and he kidnaps her to for her to get to know him and to get to love him, so they would be living happily ever after in his new house and probably collecting butterflies. But it's not going like he's planned. She doesn't like him back. I would probably give this book like 3.5 stars because the first half of the book is interesting. It's from the perspective of the man, from the kidnapper. He is so weird in his head what he thinks about this situation, about like her actions, what he decides to do, their weird dates that's happened in the house, like his weird thinking process. It's quite interesting to read, but the second half of the book is from the perspective of the girl, and she was so annoying in my opinion. After reading from her perspective, I stopped caring about her, and I was like, whatever happens to her, I don't care. And if you decide to read this book and then you enjoy the first half, then you get to the second half and you don't like reading it as I didn't like it, feel free to skip it to like probably maybe the last like 10 pages, when the perspective goes back to the man and the ending and like unravels. So if you don't like, if you find yourself not liking the perspective of a woman, feel free to skip it. You don't lose anything in my opinion. So without this, maybe it's a 4. It will be like short, weird, about be a short, weird story about like a sick-minded man who got the power to do whatever he wants because he's got money, he's got like financial freedom, and he's like, oh, I can buy a house where I can keep a girl in the basement. Next 2 books are pretty interesting. This is called The Push. I'm not gonna tell you actually how it's called in Russian because it's kind of a spoiler actually. If you're from Russia and you're about to read this book, sorry, I just spoiled it for you. And the other one is Shiver. Why I combine these books? Why I combine this book? Because I want to tell something quite interesting, how different people have different opinions about the same thing. The Push I've seen in some videos about thriller recommendations with some unexpected endings, like mind-blowing endings, twists and turns. And then I read this book and I was like, wait, why was I supposed to be surprised? Nothing surprising at the end. This story is about a mother who suffers from some PTSD and she can't connect with her first child, which is a girl, and she thinks her daughter is a little bit an evil child who does terrible things, and she suspects her doing those things, and she tries to talk to her husband like, oh, daughter is pretty evil, we should do something about that. But the father has a great connection with the child, like they love each other, and he doesn't believe the mother, like, what are you talking about, you just can't connect with her, like she loves you and you for some reason like accuse her of terrible things. If you watched the movie We Need to Talk About Kevin, it's got the same like basis of the story. There's also a mother who can connect with her son Kevin, and she suspects him being not a very nice person. The movie isn't based on this story, it's different stories, just have the same, yeah, I guess it's called the basis of the story. Mother can connect with the child and suspects the child doing terrible things. I like the movie. The ending was like cruel and kind of surprising, but here I actually like this book. It's just a bit, I wouldn't call it a thriller. It's also kind of like a personal drama of a mother who can't connect with the child, and like it's a pretty great like psychological maybe thriller. It's a good book, I recommend it, but I wouldn't tell it's got like an unexpected ending. I wouldn't say it's a bad or good, it was just like, yeah. Should I even be surprised here? Like, what was that the point of that? Probably not. It was like just some information was given, and the mother was like, oh. But if you've seen this book and like mind-blowing twists, recommendations, or just some highly or some unexpected endings, and you decide to read it because of that, so don't. Please don't. Just read it as an interesting book, some maybe psychological thriller a little bit, and that's it. Yeah, for for four, yeah, 4 stars. And The Shiver. So I've seen, like, probably today I watched one of the booktubers video and her giving this book 5 stars. I was like, what? Okay, she explained what she liked about this book, which I found myself actually not liking because we've got probably different taste. I actually don't know with which YouTubers I have like similar taste and whom to trust, because I watched a bunch of recommendations videos and I saved those recommendations, and I don't remember from whom. I remember a few books, but mostly I don't. Let's talk about Shiver. This is the story about a friend group who were professional snowboarders. Like what? How many years ago? 10 years ago. They were great friends, plus they were competitors. They were at some competition in the France, in French Alps. So, and 10 years later, 10 years ago, one of their friends went missing. Yeah, went missing, and 10 years later, someone gathers them for a reunion at a remote cabin, I guess, at the same spot where they had competition, but that spot is closed for tourists, something like this. So they have it for themselves. Everything is private. Like there's no one around, no staff, no one, just them. And they don't understand actually why they were gathered together, who organized it. Then some weird things start happening at that cabin. Okay, at that cabin. And they try to figure out who scares them because their phones went missing, so they can't call anyone. Some of their gear, I guess, went missing. So, and there's like a blizzard, snowstorm, I don't know. Well, they can't get out of there easily, and then someone is missing, some of their group, and they don't understand what's happening, who's behind it. And there are lots of flashbacks from the past when the competition was happening. It was interesting to read about the sports, about the competition, how they prepared for it. I don't know if it's accurate or not, but it was interesting to read. And but what I didn't like about this book at all, well, first of all, the ending. It was quite predictable, but that wasn't like bad. It was like okay, but it was okay. I don't really complain about this book. I don't really complain about the ending. It was okay, but 90% of this book is a messy romance of the main character. She's got like a crush on everyone in her friend group. Well, not everyone, probably 2 guys, but like she dates one guy, then have a crush on another guy, or the other way around, or she didn't date anyone but had crush on both of them, something like this. And I read it like last November, so I don't remember the details, but I remember her thinking about them 90% of the book. Like in the past, in the present, when they reunited, and she's like, oh, I want him. And then in the past, oh, I want him. I didn't like the romance part. I didn't like it. So yeah, the video I watched from Gabby Reads, and she enjoyed it. She actually enjoyed that romance part. I didn't. Well, I don't read romance books, so I'm not a huge fan of romance plots. I don't mind romances, like, I don't know, subplot, side plot, when it's not the main story, and when the main character doesn't think about her crush throughout the whole book. And Gabby compared it to In My Dreams I Hold a Knife. If you like this book, you like this one. And I guess I agree, because I tried to read In My Dreams I Hold a Knife a bit later. I read it in 2024. Actually, I didn't love this book because of the same thing. Like the main character, 90% of the book, well, 90% of like the half of the book, that's how much I read, the same thing. She thinks about all of her crushes. She's got like two, and it was exhausting. Like it's, and I didn't really like the main character to care about that. Same here. I didn't like the main character to care about her love interest. So, but I finished this book, and it was still interesting to read. Maybe 3.5. Just the romance part is not my thing. So I so probably because of that, I couldn't fully enjoy the story. So if you're okay with this kind of romance, uh, definitely give it a try. Or if you don't care about that kind of romance, give it a try. Maybe you'll be okay with it. Maybe you won't. Despite that romance part, it's pretty interesting to read. There's a lot happening. Like there's an interesting competition between characters. Uh, it's just a nice atmosphere to read about, like those snowy Alps snowboards, them hanging out with each other, with other snowboarders, and it's just an interesting vibe. I recommend I recommend to read it. Just be prepared for some messy romance happening in the head of the main character.